guys, welcome to my first video tutorial series on developing with Magento 2. From here we're going to take a walk through the basics of developing Magento 2 modules, themes and locale packages. But these tutorials are for those with a basic understanding and knowledge of Magento and PHP, command line principles and have a prerequisite of a simple LAMP stack setup. I hope you enjoy. So guys, first things first, there's a number of ways to install Magento and get it running, either locally or on a dedicated server environment. These are suggested to be Git or Composer, but Magento best practice suggests that we should be using the Composer method over using a Git repository method. Handy tip, one of the actual exam questions is how to install and update Magento using Composer. So it's handy to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and get Composer installed. For those that don't, you need to jump over to getcomposer.org, click on the download button, scroll down and hit download. This will then download it to your local system. Once you've got it downloaded, we're going to jump over into a terminal window. We're then going to copy our Composer file that we've just downloaded and move it into user local bin. I've run this command as a sudo user for a number of reasons. User local bin is a protected directory and is not normally accessible to all users. We then need to make this file executable. So we're going to use the chmod command and as you can see, running composer.far now gives us a list of programmatical applications. So now that we've got in Composer installed, we can go ahead and install Magento. So to do so, we're going to use the make directory command, create a new directory, which I've already got existed, and use the cd command to move into it. We can now go ahead and use Composer as an application to create a project, set the repository to https repo.magento.com, which is theoretically just going to go look for a Composer package file in this location. But now we need to tell it exactly what package file to look for. So we're going to use the vendor name Magento with the project community edition. Finally, we're going to tell it to use the dot directory as the place to install our project. Now, this is just asking me for an authentication because all package repositories have normally got an authentication method to log into. So we're going to jump out of our terminal and go to marketplace.magento.com, and if you haven't got an account, create an account and log yourself in. Once you log into marketplace.magento.com, you're going to click on My Profile and you'll see a screen like this. And the one we want is access keys. So access keys are what allow us to access Magento's repository. So you have a public key and a private key. So the public key is our username and the private key is our password. So in this context, I'm going to copy the public key, paste it into our username field. I'm then going to do exactly the same for our private key. This should then allow Magento to start downloading the packages required for the installation. So first off, it's going to download the Magento Project Community Edition package, and then it's going to start installing each of the independent packages that sit within that Composer package. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward now because this can take some time. Now that that's done, you should be able to see that all of the independent Magento packages have been installed into the system. So if you jump back into your terminal and use the ls-la command, you'll see that Magento package has been installed. Each of the individual components of Magento are individually packaged, and each one are installed to the vendor directories that you can see in front of you. So if you ls-la into that vendor directory, you should see each of the vendor packages that are installed. And then if you ls-la into the vendor Magento package, you should see each of the individual modules that builds up Magento as a framework, and the themes that are used to style it have also all been installed. So the next part of the process for getting it installed is to actually get Magento to run all of its setup scripts and install into the database. First of all, you want to create yourself a database. So if you log yourself into your database and create yourself one, so next thing I'll bring your attention to is the PHP server directory. So this allows you to run Magento from a localized PHP instance rather than setting up an entire LAMP stack. But what it also includes is a README file. So if you deploy that README file using the cat command, you can see Magento kindly gives you the entire install command. So if you copy this command So now that you've pasted out your command, the first thing you're going to want to change is your database user and your database password. Then you can start executing the scripts. Now that Magento has finished running all of the setup scripts, that's it. Magento is installed and ready to go. You may just want to log back into your database, and run the use table name command and show tables. You can now see that Magento's created all of its table infrastructure ready for your data to go in. For those of you that don't actually have data at the present moment in time, the next thing you're going to want to do is install Magento sample data. Easy enough to do, again using the bin Magento command. You can use the sample data deploy command. This command's basically going to tell Magento to install its sample data composer repositories and then give you the ability to set that up and let that go. These sorts of deployment commands can take some time to run, so it's handy just to let them do their thing and carry on cracking on with whatever you're doing while waiting. Once again, you may get a pop-up requiring you to enter your public and private keys from your Magento marketplace. So again, in this case, we're just going to copy them, paste them in. This is because once again you're accessing the Magento repository, which requires an authentication method to allow you to access that data. installing sample data packages ulsla into the vendor Magento package, you will see that there are a couple of other modules that have now been installed that are prefixed with the sample data. This basically means there's a module now controlling that data source. So something to bear in mind after installing new modules, plugins or themes, another command has to be run. Again, using the bin Magento tool, you can use the module status CLI to tell you exactly what's installed and what's not yet enabled. As you can see, once this command runs, you have a list of modules that are actively enabled, and underneath those modules are actively not enabled. To enable these, all we have to do is again run the bin Magento tool with the module enable CLI and set the names of each one of the modules that you wish to enable. If one module is dependent on another and you're trying to enable one without the dependency, Magento will throw an error at you to say you need to install this module and this module to allow module A to run. As you can see, these modules have now been enabled. The next thing to do is we need to run the bin Magento setup upgrade commands. This is part of the installation process for any module or theme. This actually tells Magento to go and look for all the setup files and the upgrade files and tell them to execute. See, once this command starts running, it will start clearing down all of Magento's folders that it uses every time something is generated. So whether that be code gets compiled, static content are compiled or deployed. Once it's done clearing down the files, it will then start to actually run through module by module to see whether or not it's got any changes to the setup or upgrade scripts, and then make any execution on those modules. You can tell the new modules that you tend to enable because it seems to slow down when it gets to those modules. That's because it's running the database queries that it's requested to do. So the more modules you enable in a single transaction, the longer actually the setup upgrade process will take. And that's it. That's Magento installed with its sample data to what necessarily is a fully working site. The only thing next to do is to make sure it's actually running. So again, if you use the cat command on the PHP server directory and the README file, scroll to the top, you can see Magento actually gives you the command to use to start a local instance of itself. And then you can see it starts to listen. As the install command we used, that is the path it's being used at. So if you now open that in a browser, you should see Magento fully working and operational. The first time you run this, it'll actually be quite slow to load in the browser. But as you can see, some sample data has been installed, and you have an instance of Magento there running and ready to go. With the other sample data modules enabled, you'll see a lot more to the standard Magento Luma theme than just this. You'll have some CMS content, but we only enabled a couple of them, so in this context you can't. But yeah, there you have it. Simple way to install Magento. Hope you enjoyed.